All right, very excited today. New York Giants safety, captain, and Notre Dame alum Julian Love joining us here on the podcast. Julian, how you doing, man?
Doing well. Happy to be here, of course.
No, appreciate you. The captain of the 5-1 New York Giants has a nice ring to it right now. So I'd have to imagine it's been a pretty good time out in that city. I mean, for you, man, to walk into this season now as the second most tenured Giant, or the most tenured Giant, I believe, on this defense in terms of like appearances in games and games played, to be named a captain this year. What's it been like for you personally already, about a third of the way through this season?
Yeah, it's been fun. That's the easy answer. It's been a lot of fun. We start winning, and then you get invited to all these, the Knicks games, the Rangers games, the Nets, the Yankees. You get invited to all the scenes around town, which is a lot of fun, obviously. It's been great.
Has that been the biggest change up this year? Is all of a sudden you're starting to feel like, oh, we are like a New York football team out here balling now?
Yeah, they told us, our player development people, when we first got out here, like the whole rookie spiel, that listen, as soon as you think you're big time, understand that this city has two of every major sport. And so, like, two teams of every major sport. And then when you think about it, you're like, oh, yeah, we have athletes all around us. So this team respects winning, or this city respects winning. And so we're getting a little more respect nowadays, thankfully. It's been a grind the past few years, but this year there's definitely some buzz around the community.
No, it's wild. You and the Jets are doing it at the same time. Like, this is like I always say in like a foursome when you're playing a scramble in golf. If you hit two great shots off the tee in the same group, it's like, oh, we couldn't stagger this by years. You got it going full throated right now inside that building.
Yeah, we had one dual practice with the Jets, and I'm looking at them like, they have some talent. They're like a talented team. They have some guys. They have some size. And so, yeah, it's good to see them doing their thing, obviously. And us, we've just been a gritty group. We've been really gritty.
Yeah. Like you said, you looked at that Jets team and saw that. Was there a moment like this offseason when you looked at your team and started to realize something felt different than what you'd had in the past?
I feel like these past 2 years, I feel like you look around and you're like, we have talent. Like, that's just not a question. Like, there's talented guys in this team. It's always just been a matter of our talented guys, like our best players, playing well. And that can be seen in a lot of ways. But for me, like, I'm captain this year. I feel like I'm, one of the most talented guys on the team. And I know I got to chip on my shoulder to I got to perform. I got to be doing my thing. And so that's what it's taken. All of our leaders have been balling.
Yeah, what's that been like for you? I mean, you come into the league as a fourth-round draft pick, so you're well thought of coming into it. Being a drafted guy is always a different thing walking into the team, but you start off grinding on special teams. You work your way more and more into the lineup defensively. Have you been able to kind of – is it like a relax where you no longer feel like you're fighting for your spot every day? What's that transition like to being one of the leaders now truly on that group?
Yeah, I would say this year I had more confidence than any other year. My first year, my second year, even a little bit going to my third, I'm like, all right, I have to earn it. I have to go and get it. And like you said, I'm on teams. I'm on all teams. I was on all teams. I was doing my thing on defense, trying to just find an opportunity. Trying to find a place, and it's been tough these past few years to really get a hold of one. And so I've really just stayed patient. And this year, I played in every snap or whatever of this season, every game. I played in every game of my career, and I keep the teams reps. So yeah, I played most snaps on the team right now, just because I just know I still have a lot to get after and a lot to prove. So that's what it takes.
What's changed for you personally? Biggest thing from coming into the league as a rookie in 2019 to now being in your fourth season, being more established. Like, what have you learned about being a pro that's helped you so much?
Yeah, I feel like my home life, I just kind of learned how to be a pro. I kind of stay out of the way. I got married this summer, which was a lot. It was the whole process of this spring, summer was a lot, but it was fun. And now it's just we are in a great routine. Post games, pre games, we kind of have everything lined up. I'm one of the most tenured guys on the team. My wife is the most tenured wife now on the team, which is funny to say. And so yeah, she has a routine. I have my routine, and it's been a really smooth year so far, honestly, just for everything.
That's right. I forgot you got married this summer. How involved were you in the wedding planning? Was that something that your wife needed you to have a lot of input on here? Did you pass the reins to her? How'd that go?
Ooh. Well, I proposed to her in 2020, and so we set ourselves 2 years because in season I knew I wasn't going to be anything. I wasn't going to be any sort of help, and so I was very involved in my off seasons, and then 6 months leading into it is when she took over. She pushed me to the side, kind of sat me on the bench and took over the game. It turned out really great.
Did you have any things that were like must-haves for you in the wedding, like food-wise, drink-wise? Was there anything you told her, like, honey, you can have all the rest of this. This is your day. I just need these 1 or 2 things?
My biggest thing was the music. I like all sorts of music. We have a lot of different types of friends. She likes different sorts of music. I have a Hispanic side, you could just see the dichotomy of 2 friend groups, her all girls St. Mary's groups and the football players. It's just, it was a big mix. So I was deliberate in making a playlist or getting a DJ the right flows going.
It's a huge part of it, man. Getting the dance floor primed just right for all those groups makes a huge difference in that. So it's a smart move by you to go and make sure that everyone felt the love in that one. I'm sure it was an absolute blast. So you get through that. You're married now. Like you said, it feels like stable all around here. But for you guys, football-wise, got a new coach coming in. Brian Daboll comes over. You guys obviously familiar and have certainly seen what he had done in Buffalo. What was the first few interactions like for you and Coach Daboll? When did it kind of, what was his first impression with you really as a player?
It was pretty good. Whenever you get a new coach, this is my 3rd in 4 years. Whenever you get a new coach, you're like, there's anxiety that comes with it. You're like, okay, I hope this works out. Selfishly, everybody's like, I hope this works out for me. I hope the energy's right. That we match up personality-wise or something of that sort. And I first met him trying to feel him out, like, yeah, coach, like, pleasure to meet you, happy to have you, all this stuff. He's like, listen, I love your game. Let's just bring a lot of juice this year. We're going to have a lot of fun. And just like him kind of being loose and open and flowing, and some days, letting guys out to go golf or do some like team events. It's just like, the spring was really good for us. The spring was really good to build our camaraderie. And it was such a smooth environment that he created. Everyone could talk to each other normally. It didn't have to be football all the time. I'm sure you've been in those buildings where it's like you have a bad day at practice and you're like embarrassed to look at your coach after it. And so there's none of that. It's really just, football's ball and then off the field is off the field. So, yeah, it's been great.
And I think for a lot of people, they might be surprised by that because everyone sees him so fired up on the sideline. He's just, hell, he looks like me. All bald-bearded white guys look exactly the same. So I see him jumping up and down, getting fired up on the sideline, and he looks like the dude that might be like that. But I've heard, Emmanuel Sanders, I think, talked about him, smoking cigars and calling him on FaceTime and stuff. He's that kind of relaxed away from the football field.
Oh, yeah, that story is 100% accurate. He's called me several times, FaceTime me several times in his jacuzzi with a cigar in his mouth. I'm like, what?
Is that the first coach you've ever had FaceTime you from a jacuzzi?
Yes, for sure. I don't know if Brian Van Gordon was ever FaceTiming me in general, but he definitely was the first coach to call me like that. Very casual.
That's incredible. And it shows, and it seems like you guys do have a really close team. Defensively for you also, coordinator-wise, Wink Martindale comes over, and for a guy who is as well-tenured in this league, well-respected in this league, how did his style of defense mesh with you? You talk about some of that anxiety. Every coordinator's got different wants and needs, a different system, and Wink's is definitely a very aggressive system. So how did that mesh with the way you felt like you could offer them as a player?
Yeah, I was a bit nervous at first with Wink coming in because everyone was like, oh, he brings a lot of man pressures. And so, you're going to cover zero a lot. You do all this stuff. It's going to be tough on DBs. And, you're a little hesitant when you hear that. You're like, okay, I like it. It's different, but, will it work for who we have? But as soon as he got here, he really just caters the defense to who his personnel is, which is what all good coaches do. you have a scheme. He has what he likes, and he kind of set the tone for who he was as a coach. I think the first week we ever met, he said, "All right, there's two types of coaches. One type of coach will do whatever just to collect checks as long as he can, or the second coach who will go out on his terms no matter when that is." And I'm the second one. And so he likes his style. He does what he does, and there's he owns who he is, and he's very transparent at all. So it's pretty cool.
It definitely shows up on tape. I always said Wink Martindale is one of those D coordinators. If you just watch a few snaps of his defense on tape, you don't got to ask who's the coordinator of the defense. When you see 8 bodies up at the line of scrimmage and 2 DBs out there on an island, it's like, oh yeah, Wink's at the helm of this thing.
Yes, I think I'm splitting reps, or not splitting reps, alignments. I think I've lined up as the nose tackle once or twice. I've played both linebackers. I've started a game at weak linebacker so far this year. It's all over the place, but there's a method to the madness. He has a really good staff with him, so it's been really smooth.
And for you now, as a leader on that defense, you got some young guys coming in here. Kayvon Thibodeaux, big, rookie first-round draft pick, and what he's meant there. How do you now approach that as a leader? I mean, 4 years in, you're not that much older than those guys, but you've played so much ball at this level. You're established in this league. So how do you kind of go about being a leader in that environment?
It's kind of there's a fine line with how I have to approach being a leader. Some guys see me as being really old on the team just because I've been around and I know everybody in the building. And still, there are rookies coming in that are older than me, though. So because I left college early, and so the dynamics are a little weird at times. But my leadership style is pretty simple. I'm very much myself. I'm kind of loose with it. If anything needs to be addressed, I just speak directly. I'm not a yeller. I'm not a crazy vet in terms of hazing rookies or anything like that. I just kind of what my play has been. My play has really defined who I am as a leader. I'm just somebody like I said earlier. I'm getting it done on special teams. I'm taking scout reps sometimes when guys are tired. Stuff like that kind of sets the tone for what rookies know is the standard for how to go about things. And so that's kind of how I approach it. I know everybody's different, and it's worked really well for the captains that we have this year.
It has a ton so far. You guys have been super successful on that side of the ball. What kind of impression did Kayvon make on you early? I saw he had one of the big splash plays. You had the first interceptions for the Giants this season in the last game. He had the strip sack that helped ice the game for you. What was, what kind of tone has he set coming in as a young player that you've watched?
Yeah, Tibbs, we call him Tibbs. He is the most confident person you'll ever meet in your life. The guy's confident as hell. Everything he does, he knows he can be the best at it. And it took him a little bit, like anybody, like any rookie. It takes a few games to get your feet under you. But now he got his first sack. I think it can be dangerous. He's a guy who really he's confident, but he knew what he had to do as a rookie in terms of kind of staying humble, staying kind of low key, doing all the grunt work that you have to do as a rookie, just to get in the especially as a 5th overall pick. You gotta lay a foundation that's humble, that's straight humility, and he's done a great job of that. And now, he had a great game, and he's doing the little things that matter early. So I know he's going to be on the rise. He's going to be a force the next few years for sure.
What's the thing he's most confident about away from the football field? Because he's a guy that seems to have a lot of interest. He was a big NIL guy his last year at Oregon. So what's the thing away from the field that he really feels like he's that dude?
Oh my gosh, what isn't he confident at? Cards. He's really confident at dancing. He feels like he's the best a boxer or fighter on the team. What else? He thinks he's the best comedian on the team. He's pretty funny. But everything, he just is nonstop. His energy is never ending.
So from that personality on defense, because he really does look to be that dynamic guy, to offense, you look at Daniel under center, and he's always been a guy that's kind of reminded everyone of Eli Manning, bit of a poker face no matter the situation, but for him, he's also the quarterback of the Giants, so he's going to be very much scrutinized. The team didn't pick up his 5th-year option. There's all these things going into the season, and so far he's played really well. Is there been anything for you? You came in the same draft class as him in 2019. Have you noticed any difference in Daniel from the past seasons to this one?
Yeah, I think the main thing is he's been managing games really well this year. Throughout the past 4 years, he's been on an increase in just understanding situations. I think he's really situationally aware. He's always been the hardest worker in the building. He gets there first. He's been getting there first for the past 4 years. He's leaving last the past 4 years. He's just always trying to get better at his craft. He understands how serious it is. I think you can see it on his face a lot of the times. He's a funny guy though. He's a boy. Like, he's one of the boys. He likes to kick back at times. But that game managing role that he has helped a lot. And with O-line play changing over the past few years, his game has been changing and evolving. He's been using his legs when he's needed to. He's always had a great arm, and it's just making these smart decisions in smart situations that has led us to, he's I think leading the league right now in game-winning drives. Just that stuff has just taken a huge uptick the past few years.
You mentioned the legs part of it. They always do the thing where they do the miles per hour tracking for guys, and last year he had a couple of runs that were faster than even Lamar Jackson. Was there ever a day for you in practice when you're going up against the offense when you realized, oh, he's legitimately fast, he's not just sneaky fast the way we talk about white quarterbacks usually?
Yeah, no, there was a day. It was my rookie year, and I'm on defense or whatever, and he does a little boot. And it's me and him running, and he's running towards the pylon, and I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna tack him off. I can't touch him. He's a quarterback. He was skating me, and I was like, okay, this guy's moving. I had to you can see me like, oh shit, I have to get to this guy. And our head coach at the time, it was a Pat Shermer. He was like, yeah, like people don't understand. He ran a 4.6 at the combine. Like he's not slow. I'm like, oh, he isn't slow. And it's, yeah, like you said, he is not sneaky fast. He's fast. And so, yeah.
Yeah, you got to update the scouting report quickly on that one, or else he's going to make people look silly. I mean, he has made people look silly in the open field. It's really impressive.
Yeah.
For in that backfield also, because he's doing that job there. Saquon also in that backfield with him has been sensational so far this year. It's been injury for him. The last couple of seasons really marred by that. For you guys, seeing him behind the scenes, what was that like? Because you've been around teams long enough at all these levels. It can be pretty lonely when you're a guy that's on IR, that's injured and away from the team. What was that like for Saquon, his kind of journey through being injured and getting back to this?
It's been a grind for him for sure. He's a guy who really he feeds off of competition. He kind of has I guess the easiest way to compare it is like MJ in The Last Dance, Michael Jordan. Kind of that I took it personally type of mindset. That's kind of who Saquon is all the time with everything, with ping pong, with golf, with cards, with everything. He when the pressure's on,
he good at golf? He seems like he's way too jacked to be good at golf.
He is way too jacked to be good at golf. And I know it's going to come back to me. I am a better golfer than him, just straight up and down.
Yes!
Every time I play him, he has beaten me by a stroke. And he gets into his level as soon as competition starts. He raises it. He raises the bar. And, he's come a long way. He just started golfing 2 years ago. Could drive it a mile, typically not straight. I drive it far. He drives it very far. But it's usually super far right or super far left. But clearly with his body composition, he's hitting the ball hard.
Figure that much. Is he a shit talker? Is he the guy that's just going to stare you down? What's his game for that?
Oh, what is his? I wouldn't say he's fully a shit talker. He's one of those guys. Yeah, he's a shit talker. He's one of those guys if he sees you have to take a drop or something in that regard. He reminds you, did you have to take a drop there? And it's okay. Just those little digs is what he always does. And he never gives anybody gimmies if you're competing. He's like, oh, the putter. And he'll kind of move it. Say, no, I got to see you putt that. Come on, you want to putt that? That's easy putt. You're better than me. That's an easy putt. Little stuff like that. It's if you don't stay true to your game, and he's gotten in my head a couple times already, then he'll be on your ass.
Psychological warfare, man. If there's no friendship circle on the green, you're really dealing with someone who's out there to cause chaos.
Yes, and he's doubling down every other hole. It's a dangerous game.
So dangerous game, super competitive on the golf course. That obviously helps him as a player. Coming back this season, there were a lot of people that were unsure if we were ever going to get the guy that we saw early in his career again. Same kind of thing as the Daniel comment about speed. Was there a moment where you guys saw Saquon back on the field, back in camp or something like that, where you saw, okay, like we've got the guy back in the way that we once did?
Well, in the same way of the competitive spirit that he has everywhere else. Since OTAs, we were like going at it, offense and defense. OTAs leading into training camp, we were like really getting after it. And he's a guy that like he would ask me or ask you straight up and down, who won today? Like, who do you think won today? And I'll say who I know won today. And so it's offense, defense, and you could say defense has won in the past like 5 days. No. And he'll recount and go through every play that it was in their favor. And so as soon as you see that part of him, I come back into the fold where he's making plays. He's winning some practices for the offense in the early stages of the season. And we're like, okay, yeah, he's for real this year. He looks great, and his mindset, I think, has just been really just a dominant kind of attack. Michael Jordan, I've taken it personally type of mindset.
For him, outside of the mindset, when he gets on the field, what's the hardest thing about defending Saquon Barkley, the player?
Yeah, he's fast. I mean, he's fast and he's strong. It's never a fun sight seeing him getting open field, like, and me as a safety come downhill. Yeah. All right, like he really. It's the dangerous ones are the ones who could do it all, who could hurdle you, who could juke you out, who could run over you, or who could outrun you. It's like, okay, which one is? It's really in his hands, and that's something that, as a defense, as a safety, as one who considers myself a strong tackling safety, I tell him, listen, the ball has to be in your hands. You have to make a decision that, okay, he's reacting off me, and he's made some dudes look silly this year so far with that mindset, and it's been that part of him is, I think, something that makes him so elite. Just the abilities that he has with the ball in his hands.
It's been really fun to watch, man. It's a special team that's coming together, you know, certainly along the lines of scrimmage everyone's talked about, but you guys getting after it on the back end here. You mentioned Daniel and what you guys got going. It's a special group. It's been a fun season to watch, man, and you know, I really appreciate you taking some time. I hope everything keeps going well for you. It's got to be fun to be the good team in New York City, and so I hope you get to keep riding that train, man.
I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun so far. Hopefully we keep it going.
All right, Brandon, before we get to the most important part of this podcast, I had a question I wanted to run by you. Now, what would you say, because you've lived most of your life in Louisville, Kentucky, is Kentucky the Midwest or the South?
Oh, my God, Mike, why are you doing this?
Well, no, so I only set this up because I want to ask, because I saw Will Compton over at Bussin' with the Boys was saying that he does not believe that Ohio is in the Midwest. He says that based on...
Where does he think it is?
He calls it the Middle East because he's looking at the map geographically and saying if you really split the U.S. down the middle, it's not in the middle the way states like Missouri and Nebraska and all that stuff is in there. Now, as was pointed out by plenty of people, that designation of Midwest happened before you had westward expansion into a lot of those other states. So at that time, It was the middle of what was then the United States, and now the Midwest is more of a vibe and an idea. It's like cultural. And so that's my question is, without geography at the heart of it, because I don't think geography is what makes you Midwestern at this point, what is the defining characteristic that makes something or someone Midwestern? And that's why I wanted to know what you consider Kentucky and how much of your expertise on this we should take into account.
Okay, well, I'll say this. I'll take it back to the war that killed the most Americans. The Civil War, Kentucky was split in two. The north part, obviously north and the south. So it was a borderline state cut in two between the Union and the Confederate, which is always interesting because I'm in Louisville, right, which is a stone's throw from Indiana, right, which is the the Pennsylvania of the Midwest, in my opinion, because it's southern, but it's also very much.
Which, by the way,
you know what I mean?
Parts of Western Pennsylvania are Midwestern in feel. Like a lot more of those cities
are southern.
Like, to me,
Appalachia,
Pittsburgh,
if you will,
spiritually Midwest.
Yes.
Buffalo, New York, spiritually Midwest.
Okay, so I'll say this because I do it as I came out from the recruiting standpoint. I was on a list on Scout.com of the top players in the Midwest, along with Darius Fleming, who was in Chicago, and Sean Sonar, who's in Chicago. And I think I mentioned Chicago because I think that's one of the Midwestern cities that everyone unanimously throws into the Midwest. No one's really confused about where Chicago stands on it. So being 5 hours south of Chicago in Louisville still feels like we're connected to the Midwest. When you get to Paducah and other places that are further, Bowling Green.
But I guess I'm saying, like, you're talking about where you are in there. I'm saying the way it looks, acts, and feels. Is Louisville something
Kentucky?
That feels Midwestern or that feels Southern where you're at? And
Louisville, I think Louisville is definitely a part of the Midwest. I think Indiana being north of Louisville confuses things because Indiana is so damn country.
And that's the important part to me, though, Brandon, is what is it that makes something Midwestern? And I want your opinion on that. I got a bunch of really good submissions. Like JP Acosta does a great job writing over at SB Nation covering the Jaguars, said Culver's per capita is usually a good way to discuss if something is Midwestern.
Okay.
Which
Wisconsin, because a Wisconsin original. We talked about Culver's yesterday.
We did indeed. Roger Sherman, who is a great writer over at The Ringer, said conflict avoidance and ranch dressing, which ranch dressing is a culinary form of conflict avoidance.
That checks out, and also a condiment in certain places in the Midwest instead of a dressing.
Jane Costin tweets in, one of the defining characteristics of being Midwestern is that every action that is totally normal getting overinterpreted and never forgotten. For example, why is your mom mad at that lady? Well, 15 years ago, she was slightly rude in the Meijer checkout line.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to.
I will always maintain you learn a lot about a
Midwestern
region in your grocery store interactions. When we moved from Arizona to Connecticut, my mom said one of the biggest differences was when she tried to smile and nod at people in the grocery store in Connecticut, they looked at her like she was an insane person.
Yeah, I can see that. What I was trying to say was that Midwestern people definitely hold grudges, but I think Mike, it's having an accent that's nowhere near any coast. Understanding that other places do things in a more technologically advanced and progressive way, but also feeling very proud of the way you do things and why, because it's wrapped in history and your grandparents, and it's all about the seasons and layering and tradition. That's what I said. America's about to get in this bag, right? Because Halloween, Thanksgiving, like we're on our big holiday per month until April, really, and that is where the Midwest thrives in tradition, especially winter-based or weather-based traditions.
That's a very real one. A lot of people pointed out Rachel Roth wearing shorts and sweatshirts the first day in March that it's above 30 degrees, and that applies to right now as we're on the downslope. You'll see plenty of kids on college campuses in the Midwest, shorts, flip-flops, and hoodies up top. It's the fat man uniform this time of year. It's a beautiful thing. This one... I think always rings true. Zach Adams, the length of time it takes to say goodbye. I also saw people submit when saying goodbye, also adding in a tell your folks I said hello, which hit me square in the chest as I just did that 2 days ago when I was in South Bend, Indiana.
I mean, or just kind of be having something that you want to talk about, but first asking about the folks in general, just like, how's it going? How's your folks?
I think
okay, good.
It's all the niceties, and I think the biggest one for me, and this is why I always feel like I am still more Midwestern at heart than I am East Coast in a lot of ways, because a certain Midwest tenant is to apologize for damn near everything. Your existence and your space in a room is apologized for the minute that you walk in there. There is always that feeling like, oh no, you're going to get out of the way of whoever else is coming in. It is, to me, Brandon, getting up when getting ready to exit a room, when you've been gathered there with a bunch of friends and no one's sure how to do that exit, and you hear someone loudly slap their legs and go, "Welp," and then everyone just stands up and knows it's time to exit at that point. But the number one thing, and this was what everyone threw right in there, was the that just
No, Mike. I was gonna say, you're talking about the apology for being wherever you are always as a Midwestern is boiled down to 3 letters. Ope. It's ope. Like, I ope my ass off, Mike, everywhere I am. I'm apologetic for my existence. Of course I am, as a smart Midwesterner. But when I walk into my Waffle House and I need to get the cook's, the waitress' attention, and I'm looking at everybody else, like if I'm holding the door for someone, because that's what Midwesterners do as well, and my big ass can't get out of the way because I'm trying to hold double doors because it's a lady coming, and I'm like, and I bump into one of the ladies because I'm trying to do extra, and I'm like, oh, excuse me. Oh no, thank you.
So much
no worries.
communicated in those 3 letters that everyone immediately knows that noise means I am so sorry for my place in this position. And the number one place you mentioned it is inside a restaurant. And I had someone point this out as a largely dad behavior, but I think it's Midwestern male, which is when someone is coming to clear the table in front of you, like at a restaurant, someone's coming to reach for the dishes, is the ope where you pull your hands back like you've just plated the dish as the clock runs out on Chopped. Like you're getting so much further back from the table and allowing this server so much more room by your move like this, just because you feel bad about being in the way yet again.
You asked me at the beginning of this what makes something Midwestern. I talked about the Civil War, a bunch of shit that just has nothing to do with the fact that if you boil it down, the region of people that say ope sincerely and from their heart and their loins, then you're in the Midwest.
It's I know JP said per capita Culvers. It might just be per capita opes. It's the amount of opes per person.
Ope per capita. Yeah. Opes per capita.
Yeah, you know what? At GoJo Show on Twitter, and obviously download, subscribe, rate, and review this show. Leave us a 5-star rating, and tell us what you believe is the defining characteristic of a Midwesterner, the Midwest, and what might fall into that category. Because again, I think there's a lot of places. Upstate New York, Buffalo is the Midwest, and you cannot convince me otherwise. Everything about those people is Midwestern to me. Everything about people in Pittsburgh reeks of the Midwest to me. All of it does feel like it's got home in the one true ope, and that is the Midwest. Brandon,
ironically enough, I feel like Tennessee is the cutoff.
Oh yeah, no, Tennessee is definitely not the Midwest. Definitely not the Midwest.
It's the cutoff. Memphis is the north south.
Yeah. Oh, man, because that's the tough part. Isn't Memphis where the Bass Pro Shop pyramid is?
Oh, maybe the Bass Pro Shop. Maybe a Cabela's you're thinking of.
No, I think it's the Bass Pro Shop pyramid that they put in there. It's the one where there's the hotel room where you can stay out inside. I think we've talked about it on this podcast.
I wasn't here. I wasn't listening. I don't remember that.
Well, in that case, yeah, the Bass Pro Shop pyramid in Memphis has a room you can stay at inside that overlooks the store inside. And obviously it's a Bass Pro Shop, so some of them have like stocked fishing ponds in the outside and all that wild stuff. But that feels like it's right on the border. That might be the perfect nexus of Midwest and South. It's sort of like if Oklahoma was a shop, because Oklahoma is another place. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the South or the Midwest. There are parts of it Oklahoma seems even divided on. So again, at GoJo Show on Twitter, at all those other places, make sure you give us some guidance on that, on if you feel like your area is Midwestern. Brandon, I will tell you that there is value that everyone, especially the Midwesterners, can appreciate, and that's a good pair of affordable sunglasses from our friends at Knockaround Customs. So you might think, no, Knockaround, they're so flashy, they're so good looking, it's some sort of coastal elite. No. These are the working man sunglasses. These are sunglasses that you can go out here and have a part of your life every day and walk into any situation feeling confident that they're going to look good and feel good and play good, which means they pay good. All of that stuff goes into it. Knockaround sunglasses, polarized sunglasses, they cost about $30 a pair, which again, someone pointed out as a Midwestern value when complimented on an outfit, telling people where you got it and the fact that it was a discount.
Oh.
Midwesterners love telling you that, I got this on sale at X. Well, you can tell your friends you got these knockaround sunglasses for $30 a pair at knockaround.com. And they're just there. It's not on sale. That's just what they cost. And you can get them in a variety of colors. You can get them flashy as you want. You can have them as subdued as you want to show, again, your Midwest modesty if that's what you so choose here. You've got over 1 billion possible combinations in the Knockaround custom shop. You can go out on a run with these things. Runner's World magazine named them a 2021 editor's choice. And I'm sure 2022 is tracking very well for them. They're lightweight. They have great clarity.
Amen.
Knockaround sunglasses are high-quality polarized sunglasses that come at that truly affordable price. And right now, our listeners are going to get an extra 20% off. So there you go. There's the savings you can tell people about, my Midwestern fellows. Just go to knockaround.com, enter code GoJo at checkout, and you're going to get 20% off. That's promo code GoJo at checkout at knockaround.com, getting you 20% off. Tell your friends about it. Brandon, to finish off this fine, fine day, do you know what time it is? All right, that was actually pretty good.
I can't believe that bird on my street.
You can't just stop. You can't just leave well enough alone. You did it. You made it through. Oh, my God.
On my street, Mike. On my street. That is as DJ Jazzy Jeff and Will Smith and the Fresh Prince. Nightmare on My Street.
Yeah, at this point, we're aware. That was the Frankenstein monster of attempts at that song. Brandon is lightheaded. I'm going to filibuster so he has a chance to catch his breath. Make sure you download, subscribe, rate, and review. Leave us a 5-star rating and tell Brandon how much you enjoyed the attempt there. And also check it out on YouTube.
Did you know what state has the actual center of the United States in it?
It feels like it might be Nebraska.
Kansas.
That was the second guess there.
Kansas.
All right. Shout out to Kansas.
That's me attempting to change the subject after my failed attempt of rapping.
I mean, I was going to change the subject to what this was anyway and go back to one of the coasts since we've been talking about the Midwest. That was unfortunately vanquished at the hands of the Coastal Elites. The New York Yankees went out and won Game 5 of the AL Divisional Series between them and the Cleveland Guardians. They go and get a 5-1 win. And the controversy surrounding this one, Brandon, is fascinating. So the game was supposed to take place on Monday night, but it ends up getting rained out. It was supposed to be Game 5 of a 5-game series. And so on the back half of that, the Cleveland Guardians were either supposed to fly back to Cleveland because their season would have been over, or fly to Houston where they would face the Astros in the next round. Instead, they had to turn around and stay in New York. Problem with that is they had checked out of their hotel, and so they had to go back and try and adjust to that on the fly. Their hotel was overbooked. They had to split the team up between multiple spots. It was a whole ordeal that happened after they sat around while that delay transpired the entire day. Fast forward to today, and now this goes haywire. They lose pretty decidedly. It never really felt overly close. The Yankees were up 3-0 at the end of the first inning, and it just kept going. So a lot of people, I know Guillermo, Billy G over at the Dan Le Batard show, certainly already protesting this result here as a conspiracy by the league to get the Yankees on to the next round after the Dodgers were ousted from the postseason. But Brandon, the other part of this, we talked about Josh Naylor from the Cleveland Guardians the other day, rocking the baby on Garrett Cole after he went yard on him in a game that they still ended up losing. The Yankees noticed, and they let that dude have it every chance they get. Every fan in the ground obviously booed him when he was up at bat. Every Yankee player I saw coming off the field was giving the rock the baby when they were all doing this. And Brandon, you know what? I still don't think it makes it the wrong move. I think it was fun. I gave it something that genuinely got people pissed off because they were only going to respond if it actually bothered them. And in baseball, we need more of that. So I still don't think Josh Naylor did a bad thing because this isn't like football where you got to write a physical check that your ass has to cash. I always talk about the phrase that a vet once told me, you don't get bonus points for blocking a guy when he's mad. That can be a superpower. I don't know if that same thing applies to Major League Baseball in a sport that requires that much focus.
Yeah, Mike, but I feel like that's more than bulletin board material that Josh Naylor gave to that team. That was like actual fuel on footage, like on film. it's like a sensu bean for the Yankees. Obviously, they were probably already going to do well, but that shit woke them up, and they're rejuvenated, re-energized. I've never liked to rock the baby mic because I think it's a disgrace to babies. Like, babies didn't ask to be that helpless. Like, they need their
But they love getting rocked,
right? And then that's a misconception. Every baby's different, but I think I think it is. I never really like it in the NBA. I don't like when Russell Westbrook does it. But in this setting, in this instance, I feel bad for the Cleveland Guardians because not having a hotel room in New York City sounds like a true nightmare. But you know, Naylor did give it to him. I don't know. I don't like their reaction. Like, let's just do the exact same thing because it proves no creativity and that they actually are just being reactive.
It just means, you know what it means?
You can play with your food.
It means it got to them. And that's the goal of any good bit of trash talking. The Yankees just ended up being better, and in this case, maybe a little bit more well-rested because they were at home. So the Yankees move on to the next round, and so it goes. The Midwest suffers a blow there. Brandon, let's get to that. More news from the NFL. Ian Rappaport over at the NFL announced that the league and Amazon have a 2023 Prime Video exclusive Black Friday game that's going to be played the Friday after Thanksgiving. It's the first ever NFL Black Friday game. Will take place on November 24th, 2023. The expected kickoff is at 3 p.m. Eastern with the team's TBD. First off, I didn't think we were allowed to say Black Friday anymore.
What do you think it was called?
Well, I thought that we kind of phased that out because everyone was like, it doesn't sound right. It's the same way we don't say Black Monday when we talk about the day that NFL coaches all get fired at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the NFL just did the reverse of end racism with that. Yeah. It was like, let's solidify that this always is called
right.
This thing.
They're
football on Black Friday.
Ending racism by taking back control of that word. They're not going to let other people besmirch what that word means to them. But Brandon, this is
how brave of
this
them.
Is yet another example of the NFL just saying more is better, and they're going to be right. Now, the streaming aspect of it, I'm sure, is going to draw a lot of complaints from people, but we're already getting the first rattle of the box of that out of the way this year with the Amazon stuff on Thursdays. People seem to like it outside of the fact that the games have all been crap. Like, the studio shows have done well. The desk that they've got with all the recent former players seems to be pretty well received for the most part, and people are already sitting around in those holidays anyway. We love Thanksgiving football, and so I'm sure the only people that won't love it on Friday are college football fans, because traditionally that's been, I got to call the Texas-Iowa State game on Friday after Thanksgiving in 2020. And that's traditionally been a day where there's a big, good slate of college football games. So that crowd might be the ones that are a little bit pissed off about things, but NFL fans are going to be happier than pigs and shit.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, as well as Amazon and Jeff Bezos, like, I think what I didn't consider was the fact that how many people already had Amazon Prime. I don't really think about that. But the fact that the opening game with the Chiefs Chargers was at, I think, 13 million viewers, right? And obviously the Thanksgiving game always gets a lot of big viewers. So with people already signed up for Prime, Black Friday being all the deals for Amazon, then you're going to have Cyber Monday that comes up later on that week, and small business, all these things. It just seems like they're keeping everybody on their platform with football as well. And as bad as these Thursday night football games have been outside of the opener, you're going to turn it on, but inevitably somebody's going to end up at the wrong auntie's house that ain't got Amazon Prime, and you're going to miss the whole damn game.
It is so true. They've essentially turned that into one giant corporate holiday for a platform that runs more commerce than almost anybody else. Like, it's the most corporate greed in a league that is driven by corporate league, and we're seeing, like, these companies like Apple and Amazon in sports aren't going away. Like, that conversation around the TNT guys all getting re-signed by Turner and not going to them feeling like a coup is because we all kind of understand the inevitable. But that being said, it's still going to be football the day after Thanksgiving, and we're all still going to watch it. And we're going to have the counter programming of those college games in case that NFL game sucks. And everyone's probably going to do all right with that. Brandon, let's get to the third, though.
Yes.
New York City is limiting the hours when trash can be taken out because there has been an uptick in an issue with rats. Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, and the Department of Sanitation Commissioner Jessica Tisch had a press conference announcing that trash would be allowed on the street for collections, moving that time back from 8 p.m. to 4 p.m., based on an uptick in these complaints about rats. And Brandon, the only reason this is really interesting is because of the quotes that came out of this press conference. Because you've been around New York, you know how difficult this will probably be to enforce. Here are the quotes.
A lot of rats.
Here are the quotes that came out of this press conference here, and I want you to be able to choose your favorite. I appreciate Emma Court for putting this together. She is covering New York City for business. It might be Business Insider. It just says @business. I'm reading her bio as we go right here. These are the quotes here. Number 1, there are many rivers that are feeding the sea of rodents in the city, and today we're damming one of them. The next, the biggest swing you can take.
That's a hard one.
The biggest swing you can take in cleaning up our streets is shutting down the all-night, all-you-can-eat rat buffet.
Okay, that was the best one.
These all read like incredible Batman comic book lines.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like this is either Commissioner Gordon or Batman in a raspy voice.
This one might be my favorite. Rats will hate this announcement. That one reads like a BuzzFeed headline. Rats will hate this announcement, but what happens next will restore your faith in rat humanity.
Oh man, I love it. And now I'm thinking about what the Onion article could be. Gentrification on the streets of New York.
Yeah. How many more rat artisanal jam stores do we need? What happened to the gutters of old? Brandon, there's two more. There's three more here. Rats don't run this city. We do. Debatable.
I disagree, but I love the gusto.
Well, here's more gusto. Rats. This is not Ratatouille. Rats are not our friends.
Just to let everybody know, like, okay, let me give a reference. Like,
yeah. Hey,
who's confused
you
about
guys
that?
probably watched that friendly rat propaganda that they've been trying to spread you out here cooking with you. No. The last quote, New Yorkers will not have to fear as many rats hiding in late night shadows. Brandon, all this just concocts back my favorite image ever posed by Pablo Torre back in the day on Highly Questionable, who pointed out that all the rats that you see up top on New York City streets are the weak ones that had to flee to the surface for food. And this idea that deep down under the subway, there's probably like a human-sized queen rat that subsists on all the food that's down there and is worshipped by the rest of them is the thought that haunts my dreams to this day.
The master splinter of rats, just down there, just being fed like a queen bee,
just fleshy,
and everyone's that pizza rat. Remember Pizza Rat a couple years ago? It was just bringing the slice of pizza to the mama. Wow. What about? Oh, they're all connected like a Pied Piper. Like all the rats are controlled by this mother rat. Now that's
one
me
big
deeper.
ball of mating rats eating and mating and helping the all rats.
Honestly, I feel like the most moving and instructive quote from there was that there's many rivers that flow that feed the rats of New York City, and one is getting dammed. Like, I just think that's because also it's not really damned as much as it is like a time when it's open. Like before they start selling breakfast all day round at McDonald's, people are just really busy around 10 o'clock.
Yeah, they've just put that 10:30 cap on when you're going to have breakfast here. This is Big Daddy protocol where now they've got to worry about what time they show up to try and get McDonald's breakfast. So best of luck to the rats of New York in your fight against humanity trying to limit your food supply.
Just this last thing, Mike, the thought of rats rushing outside the way humans rush to the subways to catch the subway at the exact minute, the 15-minute leeway of both sides. Like looking around, did you see the trash come yet? No, I think it's going to come. Oh, here's a little. Oh yeah, okay, ready. It's just.
I don't know why I immediately thought of all these rats in black and white wearing those little hats, walking up, and of course in the Mid-Atlantic, did you hear the news? They've changed chow time around here. They're starting to put limits on it. This new mayor's restricted when we can eat.
Rats are going to hate this news, Mike.
Rats are going to hate this news. We hope you didn't hate this podcast if you were a person or a rat. If you didn't, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, and review GoJo wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and a review. And make sure you check this out on the DraftKings YouTube channel. We are proudly rat-free since May of 2022. Make sure you go there, check out the DraftKings YouTube channel. Subscribe to that one. Do it so you get updates on when these videos come out. And then check the GoJo with Mike Golick Jr. playlist on there. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.